What is the absolute worst game you ever played? Maybe you thought of a game that was disappointing, or maybe you thought of a game that is filled with bugs and glitches. Although a few games I personally don't really like came to mind, I decided to find the definitive answer. I found a list of the top 100 lowest rated games on Steam, and I'm going to play them all to find out which game I personally think is the worst. Now, let's spin the wheel and get ready to go dumpster diving. Hunt down the Freeman? Oh god, no. Let's get right into it. Let me just get one thing out of the way. This isn't going to be a video essay about what went wrong with this game. There's already tons of those out there by people with more time, resources, and unique perspectives than I have. For example, Pyrocynical and I Hate Everything are the two main YouTubers I know of that were both voice actors in the game and made videos about their experience. So I will briefly go over the history and controversy of this game, and then I'm going to give my honest impressions of it as someone who knows nothing about the Half-Life series. As always, I put some helpful links in the description, including an article written by, this guy, who I think does an amazing job at summarizing everything. In 2016, there was a man named Birkin, I can't pronounce his last name, who, alongside a team, wanted to make a short film about a soldier who wanted revenge on Gordon Freeman, but he later decided to turn it into a game. An Indiegogo campaign and a trailer were released, but they flopped as the campaign only received one $12 donation. Birkin refused to give up, stating that the soon-to-be-released demo would answer everyone's questions and doubts about the game. That flopped too. So, Birkin created a new team, Royal Radius Entertainment, and allegedly got some impressive investments, but here's where the problems began. From what I gather, Birkin hired around 60 contractors to help him create the game. Aside from a single Discord server, the contractors often wouldn't talk to each other, and according to some people, it's because they weren't allowed to. One ex-developer, Telvi, who I'll be referencing a couple times here, said this was because Birkin was extremely strict with confidentiality. As you can imagine, when trying to create sprawling maps and trying to code an entire video game, it's kinda difficult when you can't work directly with the other people on the project. This got so bad that according to a group of developers, the initial game that was published to Steam wasn't even the real final version that they submitted. Instead, it was a previous build that didn't have any cutscenes, it had unfinished assets, and for some, it was impossible to beat due to all the technical issues. The game also released with a $24 price tag, which is more expensive than any of the other Half-Life games. Hunt Down the Freeman was also riddled with controversies both during and after release. Some people say that the developers of the game paid off people and/or bots to boost the game through Steam Greenlight. If you don't know, Steam Greenlight was a way for people to beta test games and rate them on if they should be on the Steam store or not. There's allegations that Birkin only made the game so he could get a job at Activision, which he did end up getting. The game was also delayed 5 times, which an ex-developer claimed was a publicity stunt. The most controversy by far is the allegation of stolen assets. At least one ex-developer, Telvi, stated that they believe that the assets they used and the ones in the game are stolen. A post by Hunt Down the Freeman said they weren't stolen. As far as I know though, there's no definitive proof that they stole assets. Here's a list compiled by a user of potential assets stolen by the developers. Some of these are just objectively wrong. Anything from a Valve property, Left 4 Dead 2 or Half-Life 2, isn't stolen because the developers paid to use the source engine and all of the assets from Valve's games. Some other ones are a bit more complicated. For example, this car model in the files of Hunt Down the Freeman looks like the exact same as this one from Stalker, but it's actually from a Left 4 Dead 2 file and is unused. Some are kinda difficult. There actually were assets used from Gmod Tower without permission. However, that was in the demo of the game, and if you recall, the entire team was disbanded when Birkin made Royal Radius Entertainment, so he pretty much got away with it. Anyway, now that you're all caught up with the history, it's time to finally get into the gameplay. I loaded into the tutorial and began my life as Mitchell Shepard before I immediately got yelled at by a drill instructor and roasted for going into the bathroom. The game actually acknowledges if you do something other than what it wants. I'm impressed. I did get stuck at this part though. The game points you towards a knife at the table and targets downrange. You can't throw the knife and you can't crouch to get inside. Instead, you have to wait until the area nearby is unlocked and you can pick up a gun. There's no indicator of what you have to do. You just have to either wait and find out or go explore and hope you stumble upon the right answer. You'll be seeing that a lot in this game. Anyway, I rushed through the rest of the tutorial. Throwing grenades sucks because they don't go where you want. The parkour section was too slow and too long. And another loading screen. Wow. Honestly, I don't have too high hopes for this game so far. Oh, wait a minute. These cutscenes actually look pretty good. I feel like if they funneled all their resources into the cutscenes from the start, it actually would have made a pretty good short film. Alas, we have a game to play. Now we're in the Black Mesa facility to find Gordon Freeman. Along the way, there's plenty of slow enemies that you can use for target practice to get used to the game. It was here that I noticed something off. It's hard to explain, but if you move to the side, the screen rotates slightly with you. It kinda hurts my eyes after a while, honestly, especially since your guy jerks violently to the left when you crouch. Anyway, I spot the G-Man staring at me from a window before I get beat up by a random guy. Except my game glitched and completely desynced the cutscene, but I bet it was cool. The G-Man tells you that he will give you everything you want, and in the future he will call upon you to kill Gordon Freeman, who was the guy that just beat you up like 5 seconds ago. From here on out, the game follows the exact same formula for multiple levels. You can run past all the enemies, hit a checkpoint, and go to the next level. The main issue is I have absolutely no idea where I'm supposed to go. There's no real HUD, and aside from this one flare in the vents, I never explicitly knew where I had to go. I just kind of ran around hoping to find the next place to get to. Then, you get a cutscene. The writing is always awful, but sometimes you get amazing voice acting. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I enjoy the G-Man's performance.
Mr. Mitchell, at last. You've done a great deal in a small time.
Most of the time, though, the voice acting sucks.
My fellow Americans, as your President and Commander-in-Chief, it is with a heavy heart that I'm informing you that we have made a strategic decision.
Now the next level, oh, this one pissed me off to no end. You go through the levels like normal until you encounter an area where there are a bunch of soldiers, ammunition, and aliens. So your first thought might be that you have to just kill enough aliens before you can move on, right? You actually have to turn around and run a completely different direction. The aliens here do not stop spawning. It took me 10 minutes to realize this. Now, we're at a hotel with infinite monsters where you can just run around in circles until the elevator comes down to collect you. Honestly, the rest of the game is almost exactly like this. You either run past everything, or you gotta wait a certain amount of time before you can move on. Sprinkle in the occasional unkillable enemy and you have hunt down the Freeman. The cutscenes get even worse as the game goes on too. Like here. I run down to the bottom of the stairs and the screen cuts to black. Then, all of a sudden, there's tons of people down here, and the overall atmosphere is darker. Tensions are rising between the crew. Shepard is finally starting his quest for revenge. And then it just cuts back to the game right away. Why not just teleport us to the next area right now? It seems kinda lame to just turn around and leave, especially when the next cutscene is less than 10 seconds away. I will say though, the game did surprise me at parts. One thing I wasn't expecting was how much fun I had in the epilogue. And I will say that there's going to be spoilers in the plot for this section, and for reasons I'll explain shortly, I think it might be eventually worthwhile playing this game. So skip to this time if you don't want to hear them. After a conversation with G-Man, Shepard learns that it wasn't Freeman who attacked him in the beginning of the game, but it was in fact Adam, one of his supposed close friends that he met at the top of a hotel like 20 years ago. This means that not only was Adam playing the 20-year long con, which is impressive, but it also means the Steam store lied. And when you look at some screenshots of the game, it explicitly shows Gordon Freeman attacking you. And in the game, not only does the character wear a helmet, but it's also not even Freeman. If the story just showed a man in a helmet beating Shepard, I wouldn't be mad. It would make the twist more impactful without feeling like it just came out of nowhere. But I feel like this kind of pushes the bounds about how a game should lie to its player. Anyway, Shepard learns that this was all a ploy to draw attention from Freeman so that he can defeat the Combine, the alien force that invaded Earth. So Shepard runs to a factory and the game crashed. Shepard tries again to run to the factory, overrun with Combine, and attempt to be rescued by his other friend, I Hate Everything. I mean, Nick. To be honest, I love this level. There was a sort of puzzle involved, you were given tons of ammo and health to mow down your enemies, and you end it all by having to hold your ground against an onslaught of enemies. We get rescued and taken back to our base to finally confront the traitor, and the game crash mid-cutscene. Again. Well, to make up for that, here's Adam's fandom page. Oh, also, he died. After I beat the game, I went back to Steam and noticed something interesting. It seems that some of the former developers have grouped up with some new members to try to revamp the entire game. And I gotta say, some of these changes look nice. They even state that they are doing this even though Birkin is still getting all the profits from the sales. They care so much about this game that they are willing to work on it even though they know that they may never make any money from it. I think that in a couple years, Hunt Down the Freeman has the chance to be the game everyone wanted it to be. Or at the very least, off this list. Godspeed, Mesa/Operation Whiskey Freedom. I wish you the best of luck. Hunt Down the Freeman is a terrible game, and if I was playing this game when it first came out, then it would easily be the worst game on this list. However, the fact that there's a team that is still working on the game gives me hope for its future. Plus, some of these cutscenes are nice, and the new epilogue proves that they can make good level design. For now though, the game is still not that great. You might also notice that I swapped Autobahn Police Simulator and Monopoly Plus. That's because I felt like Monopoly was just wasted potential, while Autobahn was just bad. I'll try to point out whenever I change lists in the future, which hopefully won't be too often, but I still want the list to be accurate. Anyway, I hope to see you all in the next episode of Dumpster Diving. Peace out.